I was that girl in school. You know, that one. The one who was boy crazy. The one they called names behind her back. The one that the boys talked about in the locker room. The one that the girls shunned. I was that girl. I was also the girl who was being molested at home, being molested by other individuals, lost her virginity to a rape by the age of 12, and being emotionally tortured by her mother. Desperate for love, not understanding that my value was something other than my body, or that I had a right to set boundaries for my body, because I learned that it was there for somebody else's pleasure, not my own. And if any guy, boy, looked in my direction, I was all in. Like 10 and 11 years old, this is how I was being talked about as a little girl. Bullied, right? We call it bullying now. Back then, nobody called it bullying. People were just like, well, that's the way it is. She should behave better. She should dress better. She shouldn't do this. She shouldn't do that. You know, all the victim blaming, which unfortunately still happens. I bring this up for a very specific reason. When my kids were growing up, and maybe one of my kids would come home and start to talk about somebody in that way because they didn't know any better, they're children. This is where our job comes in, right? The first thing that I would do is explain to them that that was somebody who was wounded and that they should not be taking another bite out of them and jumping on the bandwagon, and be sensitive to that. And when we talk to our kids about bullying and what not to do, I think it's also really important to sensitize them as to why a person behaves in a certain way, why they may look a certain way, so that they can be understanding and they're not just little robots obeying an order and you know, taking or not taking an action, but actually maybe show that person compassion